So, according to the Officer Down Memorial page, there have been 32 officers that have died in the line of duty so far this year. And you can see 15 were due to gunfire and 3 more due to inadvertent gunfire, which basically means they were shot by other officers. The month that has had the most so far is February with 7, although this is June 13th right now, and June's already got 4. So June, it's possible, will surpass the February number. And typically the summer months for homicides in general are much higher. There's much more of them. If we go down and look at the total deaths by state, we're looking at Texas has 5, California has 4. Those two are typically at the top. Florida's usually up there with them, but Florida's only got 1 so far this year. Georgia's got 3, and then you got Louisiana, Ohio, and Virginia, each with 2, and all the rest of the states that have reported 1 so far this year only have 1. The majority of the officers that have been killed in the line of duty have been male, with an average age of 39 and the average tour of duty at 10 years and 4 months. And that's a lot of experience that we've lost. We have also lost 10 canines, 3 of which were due to gunfire. And gunfire is typically the most common way that a canine dies as well. 1 inadvertent, he was shot by other officers. And this is just listing 3 as gunfire and 1 as inadvertent, but actually 2 of them were killed by another officer. And you can see on this graph here that the 32 so far in 2025 is a 63% decrease from last year. And gunfire's down 28%, auto's down 52%, and the medical's down 100%. And that's due in large part to the COVID deaths. Even last year, even in 2024, the COVID deaths were still there was still a significant number of them. And the 9/11 deaths, even more so. There's a significant number of officers still dying from the effects of going into the buildings during 9/11. There have also been a significant number of officers that have taken their own life with a handgun or some kind of firearm. We got 29-year-old Christian Flynn of the Upper Providence Police Department in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. He shot himself in the police department parking lot, and that was on June 2nd. And we have an unnamed officer in Lido Beach, Long Beach, New York. And he was retired NYPD, and he died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound at the beach. And we had on April 23rd in Vancouver, Washington, the interim tribal police chief, Charles Gardner. He was found in a vehicle with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And this was an unnamed officer out of the New York City Department of Environmental Protection Police Academy in Kingston, New York. And he fatally shot himself inside the police academy. And this one we have 66-year-old Gerard Senator. And he's an ex-corrections officer who shot his wife and fatally shot himself after a standoff with law enforcement. And this was in Chicago on February 5th. And this just shows a 27-year-old female officer. And she was found deceased in her home with a gunshot wound to the head, and it's showing it's likely self-inflicted. This one was April 8th. These are kind of jumping around. The United States Federal Courthouse in Des Moines, Iowa. And this again, it just shows it was an adult male. And he was a probation officer that suffered a self-inflicted gunshot wound at the federal courthouse. And this was the first one that was a self-inflicted death that I found, at least this year, on January 14th in Minot, North Dakota, from the Minot Police Department. 49-year-old Lieutenant Matt McLeod. He had suffered a self-inflicted gunshot wound at the police station. He was on administrative leave for a sexual assault charge at the time that he took his life. And if we look at this graph here, you'll see that in 2015, this shows the last 10 years. This is the gun violence archive. They show the last 10 years of officers that were killed. And in 2015, 40 were killed by gunfire. These are all gunfire deaths. 40 were killed by gunfire. And in 2024, last year, it nearly doubled up to 75. And you can see 2024 was the most we've had in the last 10 years. 2022 was at 72. 2021 was 68. And 2019 were 69. And you go back to 2016, even there were 61. And these would include officers that were killed by suspects that were inadvertently killed by other officers and who had taken their own lives. And again, these are the numbers that this gun violence archive reported. There's likely more than this, um, but these are the ones that they have that were reported. And if you look at, people always want to say that officers are killing tons of, innocent criminals. You can look at even those numbers went up, but they didn't go up as high. The suspects that were killed by officers in 2015 was 1,007. And in 2024, that number jumped to 1,445, which is an increase of what, like 44% or something. Um, so those went up as well, and they've kind of been on a steady incline. Like they're growing gradually. They've actually increased every single year since 2015, 1,007, 1,152, 1,232, 1,273, 1,290, 1,299, 1,326, 1,397, 1,444, and 1,445. They have increased at least by one every single year since 2015, so the last 10 years. Wow. You got Lieutenant Mark Meadows, he was struck by a vehicle. Deputy Sheriff Timothy Corlew, motorcycle crash. Deputy Sheriff Jesus Vargas, gunfire. Sergeant Mark Butler, vehicular assault. Border Patrol Agent David Christopher Maland, gunfire. Officer Baldino Morales-Sánchez, motorcycle crash. Officer Jason Roscoe, gunfire. Officer Jeremy R. Labont, gunfire. Trooper Kyle McCasey, struck by vehicle. Patrolman Andrew William Duarte, gunfire inadvertent. He was shot by another officer. Uh, Police Officer Cameron Robin Gervin, gunfire. Police Officer Christopher Reese, gunfire. Deputy Sergeant Martin Shields Jr., gunfire. Police Officer Felicia D. Riley, assault. Sergeant Joseph Anthony Azcona, gunfire. Deputy Sheriff Hector Cuevas Jr., automobile crash. Sergeant Grant J. Candles, vehicular assault. Police Officer Osmar Rodarte, gunfire. Deputy Sheriff William May, gunfire. Deputy Sheriff Melissa Pollard, automobile crash. Captain Helio Armando Garcia III, automobile crash. Deputy Sheriff Jesse Perez, accidental. Deputy Sheriff Brandon Ray Sykes, gunfire. Special Deputy Sheriff Larry Henderson Jr., vehicular assault. Lieutenant Alan Nucci Credeur, gunfire inadvertent. Deputy Sheriff Nathaniel Ansay, automobile crash. Deputy Sheriff Daniel Weston Scherer, gunfire. Police Officer Samuel Riveros, gunfire. Police Officer Timothy Anteveros, gunfire. Sergeant J.D. White, struck by vehicle. Police Officer Crystal Rivera, gunfire inadvertent. And Police Officer Gabriel Facio, gunfire. And the 10 canines that were killed: Canine Kaya, struck by vehicle. Canine Macho, heart attack. Canine Roxy, vehicular assault. Canine Preacher, gunfire. Canine Ozzy, gunfire. Canine Blitz, gunfire. Canine Chico, struck by vehicle. Canine Knox, vehicular pursuit. Canine Kai, heat stroke. And Canine Rebel, gunfire inadvertent. Thank you all for your service.